Law number 16, use absence to increase respect and honor. In this chapter, author emphasizes that it's always good to exit from your daily routine to get attention from others or to get your power. Don't be too easily accessible all the time. And to illustrate this, there are multiple stories given. One is from the French dynasty, where couple of men like the same woman, and the man who pulled away from the woman got more attention from her. And seemingly during those time, women also used to do that. They'll tell their man to get away from them for a while, and that caused a lot of passion once they reunite. So the interpretation is that always try to restrict yourself to be publicly available all the time. Other example is from the great Persian Empire, where one of the individual who was actually giving justice as a judge, called Dionysus, who later became an emperor just by pulling out at the right time. As people were started becoming fan of his justice system, or the way he impartially used to do justice to others, people felt very common about him. He felt that he started becoming very common in people's eyes, so he pulled away, and sooner or later people came back and made him a king. While he became king, he made a set of rules that nobody can come to his castle, just to create scarcity. So this is a unique example, a very interesting story on this law. Other examples are from American culture, where a big artist would create a scarcity, big novelist would create scarcity by not by not launching their art, or by not launching their novels. And this has been followed by a lot of big brands in today's world also. Another story is that it's always good to retire at your peak, rather than letting your audience or the people who are your fan to get bored of you. And don't do that mistake. It's always good to retire at the right juncture, in your own capacity, with your own terms, rather than waiting it for you to decimate through time, over time. The counter to this law is, if you exit in a particular event in your lover's life, for example, before the relationship is stronger, that can create a chaos. You can be forgotten. So timing is pretty important whenever you execute this. Law number 17, keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. In this chapter, author illustrates by a lot of examples, where the first example is on the World Chess Championship, where in 1970s, Soviet Union champion and American champion were to play, and the Soviet guy was pretty famous for the way attacking, the way he used to play. And he knew someone called Fischer, his opponent, but he would play as per Fischer's plan. So he would play late in the game and change entire strategy, the Soviet guy. And during this world championship, Fischer knew his weakness, so he did a lot of unpredictable move. For example, he would come to a game very late, he would play totally different than his normal style, and not allowing his Russian counterparts Spassky to come again, or to make him lose. And Spassky actually was psychological beaten, and that led over time. The match was played for a month or so. The championship lasted for a month. It threw him out, the Soviet guy, and ultimately Fischer won. So the highlight of this story is that sometimes you have to be very unpredictable. Don't follow your usual pattern. That doesn't give predictable moves for your opponent or your enemy. Now the second example given is from Picasso. Picasso used to give his work to one of the trader, one of the dealer, and all of a sudden one fine day Picasso said, "I'm not going to give my paintings any longer." And there was no absolutely no reason behind that statement. So after a couple of days of confusing state, that trader came back and offered Picasso extravagant price for each of his painting. So the conclusion Picasso made is that sometimes using unpredictably, he got a better price for all of his paintings, which he used to sell to only one person. Third example given is from American Civil War, where two types of soldiers were fighting in Richmond. Confederate soldiers and Union soldiers. Union had a big set of soldier infantry, and because Confederate soldiers had less, they were about to be trapped. So the general of that battalion sensed it, and he started going round and round near Richmond. So that confused Union, and Union didn't attack Richmond, even though they had 10,000 soldiers, and Confederate only had 4,600 soldiers. Because of this confusing nature, the entire trap which Union had made for Confederate soldiers then came into stalemate. So the reversal of this law is, there are times when you have to be absolutely predictable. You have to follow your daily pattern, so that people assume that they are in the lull moment. They become boring. They feel you are boring, and at that point you can execute your task or execute your actions. To illustrate this, there is this example from boxing, where Muhammad Ali's opponent, one of the time, was very famous, and he was about to beat him. Just before the match, Ali said that I'm going to change my strategy, and instead of running around, dancing around my opponent, I'm going to attack him. And even after disclosing this, the opponent didn't took this seriously and ended up losing, because Ali did exactly what he said. So the counter is that sometimes it's better to follow your daily routine, and then do a smoke screen, and make your opponent feel completely lost